You're listening to the How to Talk to Girls podcast with your dating coach, Trip, from tripadvice.com. Do you struggle with getting girls to like you? Well, you're going to learn step-by-step how to talk to girls to create deep connections and meet the woman of your dreams. Here's your host, me, Trip. Welcome to the How to Talk to Girls podcast. This is your host, Trip Kramer, from tripadvice.com. And I want to do something a little bit different today. I know the past few episodes I've been doing some segments here and I've been loving it. Hope you've been enjoying the podcast as well. But today I want to go on a little bit of a rant or just talk about something that I think is really important for you and something I've been thinking about in my own life as well. And it just kind of all relates. You know, right now, if you're listening to this episode, you're one of a few people. You have either been listening diehard since day one, so now you're almost 200 episodes in. Maybe you're somewhere in the middle where you listen to an episode every once in a while where there's a topic that interests you. Or maybe, you're the third person where this is one of the first episodes you've ever really listened to. And wherever you're at on your journey, you're going to be going through something that is going to make this whole process very complicated for you. And so I hope that if you are a listener of the podcast or this is your first time, I hope that this episode really hits you in a different way than other episodes. And I'm really glad you're listening to this one. Feel lucky that you're listening to this episode versus others, because I think this is going to help you out tremendously on your journey of meeting and attracting women and becoming that guy who is irresistible to the women around him. And I'm just going to be very blunt. I'm going to be super blunt with you. This journey is fucking hard. It's really hard. And most people who I've hung out with, most people that I see watch the channel, listen to the podcast, most people don't really go that far. I'm just going to be honest with you. Most people don't go that far. And the reason why they don't go that far is because they let their emotions get the best of them. And this is no surprise because I have seen this in many areas. In fact, this is something that I have dealt with in multiple areas of my life. Now, we're talking about places where you want to succeed. That's what I'm talking about. These different journeys that you want to take in order to become successful in something. And so, what happens is we kind of get started. We get really excited because we feel, there's so much ahead of us and there's so much opportunity to win, to grow. For you, for example, for meeting women, you think about the opportunities you're going to have to meet such gorgeous women and be able to finally date the girls of your choice. And I'm not saying that's not possible. This is all extremely possible. I wouldn't have a podcast if it wasn't. All I'm saying is we end up letting our emotions get the best of us. We let our emotions dictate how we should continue, whether we should continue, what we should do. And it's a very, very dangerous game that we can't let our emotions win the battle. Once we let our emotions win, that's when we make it 50 times more difficult. So, okay, this probably sounds very vague to you. Like, what's Trip talking about now? What is he saying? Is he going off the rail here? What I'm saying is that as you grow, as you change, as you try to do something that's challenging, literally anything, your brain is going to be going bonkers. It's going to be dripping all kinds of emotions your way, doing crazy things that you never thought it could do. Meaning, it is going to try and say things to you to try and stop you. It's going to try to tell you that you're not worthy. It's going to be kind of a dick. Like, you're going to go out there, you're going to try to meet a woman, you're going to get rejected, and it's going to say, see, I told you. See, I told you you can never do it. Why would you even try? Right? I'm not talking about, being schizophrenic here. No, I'm just talking about the thoughts in your head, the emotions that create thoughts that become such negativity in our head. And it happens. It's inevitable. It's going to happen to you. You're going to wake up and you're going to be some days very angry. You're going to wake up some days very happy. You're going to wake up some days kind of depressed. And all because you're going through this journey and you're taking a challenge that you've never potentially done before. One thing I talk about in my Hooked program is this idea of doing confidence. In fact, I go even more deeper into my Fearless Formula program, talking about the idea of being able to step into the unknown. So the way that you become a more confident person, although I like to say doing confidence, because confidence is more of a verb than it is a noun, how you end up doing confidence in any area, well, you need to get used to stepping into the unknown, doing things that scare you, doing things that you might not have been comfortable with in the past. And so for some people, they're so used to doing things that make them uncomfortable because they've trained themselves to continuously challenge themselves. And those people have a little bit of a leg up. Maybe that's you. Maybe you've done these things all your life. You've challenged yourself in so many areas, and now you're tackling the dating and women aspect, and it's not as bad for you because you know what the unknown is like. But for some other people, stepping into the unknown is not something that you do quite regularly. In fact, maybe it's something that you haven't done at all. And so now that you're stepping into this unknown world of, I have to go talk to a girl, I have to learn flirting, I have to understand what a woman is thinking, I have to, start becoming more of a wholesome man, I got to start thinking harder about this stuff. This stuff gets very overwhelming and a little crazy. And it gets a little crazy because this is something that's completely new to you. And this is one of the reasons why it's so difficult, because you're very uncomfortable and you're not used to being this uncomfortable. Again, I can relate this to literally anything that you want to challenge yourself in. Here's the reason why meeting girls and dating is harder than most things that you want to accomplish. And I'll explain why. Let's say that you wanted to take up a sport or you wanted to learn a new skill like guitar or something like that. The thing is that with those, it's not as difficult, I believe, is because you're not necessarily performing in front of other people. You might be just learning a new hobby, learning a new skill. You might be like working out, something like that, or working on meditation, right? So many different things you can work on in your life to grow as a person. But the thing is that when it comes to women and dating, you're dealing with two factors that make it difficult. Two factors. One factor is that you're kind of having to perform, right? You're actually having to interact with another human being. So you have eyes on you, and that's already very scary. One of the number one fears across the world is public speaking. We get very scared to mess up or make a mistake in front of another human being. You're learning another skill. You're not necessarily performing in front of someone else. You're not necessarily doing the skill in front of someone else. You're maybe doing it on your own. Like, for example, guitar. You might be just learning guitar because it's something you like to play or want to learn an instrument, something like that. You're not necessarily doing it so you can eventually play in front of someone, maybe, but that's not really the point of it. But with women and dating, there's no going around that. Like, that's the whole thing. The whole thing is interacting with another human being, so it makes it that much more difficult. Another thing that makes it so much more difficult, this journey, is that you're not just interacting with another human being, but you're really taking your psychology on, okay? So the whole thing is this, is that when you were born, the first people you're ever relating to is your parents, okay? And so as you grow up, your psychology and development is all based on how you were raised. So there's a lot of funky things going on in terms of your growth and development depending on how you were raised. And now we're throwing you in the fire, putting you in front of more people, and that can bring out some of your inner issues potentially that you had as a kid, the way that you were raised. And let me just give you a hint here. Nobody was raised perfectly. We all have some sort of issues, and it's all a big scale. Some people have more issues than others, but it's all dependent on how you were raised by your parents. This is all about development and psychology. And so now, when you might go up to a girl and get rejected, it might hit you so much harder than anything else in the world because maybe rejection is something that you're very sensitive to because maybe you weren't held enough as a child, for example. There's a lot of different areas of psychology that could affect how you feel and the regulation of your emotions when you're talking to a girl, when you're interacting with the girl, when you're getting into a relationship with the girl. And so again, kind of coming full circle here, this is what makes it so difficult. The whole idea that your emotions and your thoughts can take over and make this journey extremely difficult. And I hope you're still listening because you just got a hell of a rant here and maybe some things that you haven't really thought about. But hopefully you're not too down in the dumps after what I just said to you. This is not a podcast to rant and make you feel like shit. It's actually quite the opposite. What I'm trying to do here is trying to get you aware of what's going on through this process, because a lot of guys are not aware of what's going on as they continue and go through this journey of meeting women. They're not aware of the difficulties ahead, the challenges that will arise. They're not aware of the emotions that are coming into their head. They're not even sure why these emotions are coming. They're not sure why they keep on giving up. They don't know why they start and they stop and they start and they stop. But hopefully this podcast, this episode will give you some enlightenment, some awareness, some consciousness into what's going on in your world. So I want you to take a minute here and think about and be aware of what's going on in your journey. Where are the difficulties? Where are the challenges? Is your head telling you a lot of things? Do you wake up in a certain fashion? Do you go to bed feeling a certain way? What's going on with the regulation of your emotions? And I want you to be aware of this because it can be fixed. So here's the good news, okay? Here's the good news. This can be solved. You're not screwed. You're not done for. I want this episode to be for all the guys out there who are having trouble continuing or starting, okay? And hopefully, if you're that third guy who's still just is going at it on his way and in the middle of working on this consistently, approaching and talking to girls and going on dates on a regular basis, then great, because you're going to hit a funk too, and this is the episode for you as well, okay? So basically what I want you to think about doing is I want you to think about doing a little bit more meditation if you haven't already started this. Meditation is basically coming into a stillness with your mind. That's all it is. It's a very difficult process, another skill that could be difficult, but it's something that's going to help you through this journey, and it's going to help calm your brain down and regulate your emotions more. So I'll give you a few tips on meditation real quick. If you can just try to do 5 minutes of silence per day, sit on a chair, sit on the floor, and just breathe, relax, and try to be still with your mind. And the way to do that is just to focus on your breathing. Do a count and inhale for 4 and an exhale for 4 counts. And do everything you can for the first 5 to 10 minutes to just focus on breathing. Set a little timer on your phone and just focus on your breathing. And when you catch yourself thinking about something else, come back to the breathing. That's all I want you to do for 5 to 10 minutes per day. Very helpful. Another thing that's going to help regulate your emotions is going to be the way that you eat and the food that you put in your body. You need nutrients. You need nutrients, and you need to be able to put things in your body that are going to work for you and work for your brain. Again, we're talking about regulating your emotions here. So one of the best things you could do is making sure that you drink a green smoothie every single day, or at the very least have a salad a couple times a day to get the greens in. A lot of us, myself included, trying to get better at this, we don't eat enough greens, and that is what's going to help you in terms of making you feel like a healthier person. Okay, so let's just start there. I'm giving you very quick, easy to do tips. Of course, there's so much you can do with meditation. You can take it really far. You can take eating healthy really far, but I'm giving you the kind of hacks, the quick things to help regulate. So meditation, eating some greens every single day. We can make these habits. By the way, this is not an advertisement, but I highly suggest if you want to get good with habits, is you get the app called Productive. I've been using it. It's free and it helps track habits. So what else? So we got it. Meditation, eating greens. Another thing I want you to do is you need to get outside and you need to get some activity. We sometimes just wake up, walk to the shower, walk to our car, drive to work, sit in an office desk, and then get back in a car, drive back home, and we've barely done any aerobic activity at all. So if you're not already working out, hopefully you're getting your heart pumping. Just get your heart pumping every day for at least 10 minutes. Take a walk. During lunch, take a walk. Eat lunch and then take a walk and come back. Walk to work if it's possible. At night, go on a treadmill. Just get your body moving, get exercise, and get your heart pumping. If you can do that for 10 minutes a day, you're golden too. One more tip for you is journaling. I know that this is the tip that most people are not going to do, but it's going to be really crucial to do it because it's going to be connected to meditation and the fact that they're both about consciousness and awareness. Sometimes we let our emotions take over so much that we're not even aware of them. But journaling, maybe every day, every morning, every night, again, getting into a habit of it, lets us dump our emotions into a little book so we become aware of it, and so we can just get it out there. And so in the future, we can look back and we can see our growth. So it might sound maybe a little girly or a little weird to journal, but it is very helpful. And I've done it before. And really, it's amazing to look back at the times you journaled to see where you were and how you were feeling. And it makes you feel really good to see where you're at, where you were, and where you're at right now. So journaling, that's going to be about 5 minutes at night or 5 minutes in the morning. I suggest at night just to get all your thoughts out so you can go to bed and rest easy. But just for 5 minutes, just talk about how you're feeling. That's it. Just write down with a pen and paper how you're feeling. Do that for 5 minutes. Another thing is just getting plenty of sleep, okay? Being healthy, right? And if you're not getting a lot of sleep, try to figure out a way that you can get more. Going to bed earlier, waking up later if that's possible, right? How can you get a little bit more sleep? How can you get at least 7 to 8 hours, minimum 6 hours? By the way, I'm not a doctor here, but I've just studied these things and I've learned about them and I've practiced all this stuff myself and know that it's helped me and helped other people who I've talked to who have done it. So that's how I've come up with some of these, quick little hacks. So try to see where you can get more sleep. Doing all these things is not something you're going to be doing right away. I know it's hard to implement these habits, but they're easy ones. Very easy one. The hardest one here is probably the greens. I know that maybe takes a little bit more work than everything else. It's easy to buy a journal off of Amazon. It's easy to sit down and meditate for 5 minutes. It doesn't take much, or just to walk outside, right? So what I want you to do is I want you to maybe focus a little bit more on the one that's the hardest for you to see where you can start first. And all this stuff combined together is going to help you become more aware, more conscious, and just a little bit more positive throughout your days and weeks. Because right now, if your journey is really tough, it's probably tough because your brain is telling you that it is. Because really the skill of meeting and attracting women, it's not actually hard. It's not. In fact, let me just give you a little hint here. Most stuff in life is not that hard. The only thing that makes it challenging and makes it hard is because of our emotions, because we let our emotions get in the way and tell us that we're not good enough, that we can't succeed. It tells us that we can't move forward. I mean, all you got to do is practice anything you want to do over and over and over again, and you will get better. But again, our emotions get in the way and stop us from being able to practice and working hard and being able to accomplish the skills that we want to accomplish. So I'm here to tell you that this is possible for you. It is possible to be able to have this journey become a lot easier. But what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to learn how to regulate your emotions to the best of your ability. So do those tips and hopefully that works out for you. Quick shout out here. I love when you guys leave reviews. I love it when you are honest with me with your feedback. And I just want to call out Mr. Praveen Sriram, hope I said that right, who just left a review. And he said this, and I wanted to read it to you. I've been listening to this podcast since June, and I love this podcast and Tripp's advice on how to talk to women. I'm on the autistic spectrum, and it had always been hard for me to approach women due to my anxiety and fear of rejection. But after listening to this podcast, I tried some of the strategies, and they usually work. I don't have a girlfriend yet, but I hope to eventually get the courage to ask a girl out who I become friends with. I also learned that life is short, and rejection isn't the worst thing in the world. Everyone deals with rejection, but the trick is to learn to deal with it and move on and try again. I really love the podcast and hope to listen to it for a long time. Thank you, Praveen. Thank you, Praveen. I love reviews like this. Okay, this was so honest, right? This wasn't some BS like, oh, everything's great in my life. No, you're working through this, and I love it. And that's what I want to hear. I want to hear the honest things. No, he doesn't have a girlfriend yet. No, not everything is working for him, but he's trying it and he's able to slowly get over his fear of rejection and be able to approach women. I just want to say this, Praveen, if you're listening. You said, I hope to eventually get the courage to ask a girl out who I become friends with. Just make sure that you're not becoming friends with her first. A lot of guys like you make this mistake. I made this mistake, is that you'll become friends first and then ask a girl out. But really, you have to start off the relationship. When I say relationship, I don't mean that you're, in a relationship with a girl, but the relationship between you and the other human has to start off where you basically showing that you're interested in her. So don't go to the friend zone because it's harder to get out. Okay, it's harder to get out. A woman has a hard time seeing you as a guy who she can actually be with in a sexual manner when they're friends. So you don't want to be friends first, just FYI. But thank you, Praveen. And if you like to leave a review as well, please do on either iTunes or Stitcher, and I will read it out loud and highlight you on the show. So thanks for listening. I hope this has helped you. This has definitely been a emotional episode, maybe for you, but you know how to regulate it from now on. So good luck to you, and I'll see you in the next episode.